basketball player thing.
Yeah,
Should we
absolutely,
get to
of
that a little
course,
bit?
of course.
Because, you've made a huge change, and you have talked about how the weight and idea of helping this historic Lakers franchise that you looked up to big names like the Lakers and the Cowboys and the Yankees and stuff as a kid, bringing
It was supposed to be the ultimate power move, a promise of championships and global glory. But now, behind the closed doors of the Lakers' front office, a shocking confession is being whispered. According to multiple inside sources, the Lakers' general manager privately believes the franchise made a catastrophic mistake, one that has cost them their soul. Not about LeBron James the player, but about what signing him truly meant. The whispered regret is damning. We lost our identity to get him, and we might never get it back. This is the explosive, untold story of how the league's most glamorous franchise traded its culture for a king, and now faces a future of bitter regret. Let's rewind. 2018. The Los Angeles Lakers were in the wilderness, 5 long years out of the playoffs. A roster of promising but unproven kids. The historic franchise was starving for relevance. Then, the heavens seemed to open. The greatest player of his generation, LeBron James, a free agent, chose the Lakers. The city erupted. Purple and gold confetti filled the air in people's minds. It was hailed as a masterstroke, the return of Showtime. The GM at the time, Magic Johnson, beamed in front of cameras. It wasn't just a signing. It was a coronation. LeBron would restore the Lakers to their throne. But from the very first meeting, the deal came with unspoken terms. This wasn't just adding a superstar. It was welcoming an entire ecosystem. LeBron arrived not as a piece of the puzzle, but as the architect. Sources close to the initial negotiations confirm that implicit in the agreement was a fundamental shift in power. The Lakers' way, a blend of homegrown talent, charismatic leadership, and the magnetic pull of the franchise itself, was subtly set aside. To get the king, they had to hand him the keys to the kingdom. The front office, desperate to end the drought, agreed. They saw jerseys selling and ticket prices soaring. They didn't see the slow, quiet erosion happening beneath their feet. The first move was a telling one, surrounding LeBron not with rising, malleable young stars who embodied the Laker legacy, but with a cadre of veteran role players from his world, on short-term deals that served his timeline. The Lakers' future was mortgaged for a win-now mandate that came from the star, not from the franchise's own plan. The identity, so carefully cultivated for decades, began its fade to black the day the contract was signed.
They'll never win a championship again? Explain yourself. The floor is yours.
Ever.
Explain it.
I told you, they let go of the best thing they had going for them.
No.
I told them, if you get the ball, boys, you can survive this. Now you can't. But like I said before, these suckers, I'm playing chess. Y'all playing checkers. The best way to get Lonzo out of L.A. is I said, you know what? I don't like New Orleans. I don't like New Orleans. Lonzo ain't going nowhere. He the best in the world. LA Lakers ain't gonna never let him go. First thing they do is exactly what I want to do, let him go. Because it's raggedy over there.
The first tangible symptom of the identity crisis wasn't a loss on the court. It was a series of departures. The Lakers had spent years accumulating a core of exciting young talent. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, and later, the electric spark of Alex Caruso. These were Laker kids. They were supposed to grow under a veteran's wing, learn what it meant to wear the purple and gold, and carry the torch forward. But the timeline didn't match. LeBron's championship window demanded immediate, polished contributors, not projects. The pressure to win now became an organizational panic. The result? A series of franchise-altering trades that, according to insiders, the GM now looks back on with profound regret. Brandon Ingram, now a perennial all-star, was shipped out. Lonzo Ball, a hometown favorite with unique vision, was let go. The gritty, beloved heart of Alex Caruso was deemed too expensive to retain, a purely financial decision that sacrificed culture for cap space. Each departure was a wound. We didn't just trade players. One source within the scouting department lamented. We traded our personality. Ingram's quiet hunger, Ball's flash, Caruso's relentless hustle. That was the new Laker DNA we were building. We sold it off for parts to build a quick-fix machine around one man. The pipeline to the future wasn't just paused. It was demolished. The message to the league and to the fans was clear. The Lakers were no longer in the business of building. They were in the business of leasing. and the lease was tied to one person. The identity of a team that develops its own stars, a tradition from West and Baylor to Magic and Kobe, was the first major casualty.
America now. This was very hard, and there were nights and days, I know for you, where you started thinking through what was worth it, and can you explain what some of those moments were like?
I mean, just when you're a guy who loves his family and does it for the family, you have moments where you question, is it worth being away from your family like this? Is it worth it? But then you talk to your family and they give you reassurance of why you're there. It makes it a lot easier for me. So when I wanted to question something,
Then it happened. In the pandemic bubble of 2020, the Lakers won the championship. LeBron delivered on the ultimate promise. Anthony Davis was a force of nature, and the front office celebrated. For a moment, the trade-off seemed worth it. The confetti was real this time. The parade, though virtual, felt like a validation of the entire strategy. But here's the brutal truth that insiders say gnaws at the current GM. That ring came at a cost far greater than anyone realized. It wasn't just the young talent traded away. It was the complete surrender of the franchise's operational soul. The 2020 title didn't feel like a Lakers championship to many within the organization. It felt like a LeBron James championship, hosted in Los Angeles. The systems, the culture, the day-to-day identity of the team had all been bent to serve one purpose: maximizing one player's ability to win now, the Lakers way, a demanding, proud culture where the franchise was the star, where players were expected to buy into a legacy bigger than themselves, was replaced by a pragmatic, transactional atmosphere. Coaching hires became less about long-term philosophy and more about finding a figure LeBron would work with. Roster moves were reactive, chasing past their prime veterans on minimum deals, creating a revolving door of personnel that never built any continuity. The front office, sources say, felt more like a logistics team for a superstar corporation than the stewards of a basketball institution. Winning the title justified everything in the public eye. But privately, it created a monster. It proved this star and supporting cast model could work, locking the franchise into a cycle of short-term panic moves. The championship didn't restore the Lakers' identity. It buried it deeper under the weight of a single, all-consuming goal. And when that model began to fray, with injuries, age, and a depleted asset base, the hollow reality beneath the shiny trophy was exposed. They had won, but they had lost themselves in the process. The banner hung in the rafters, a permanent reminder of a victory that felt increasingly alien to the people who were supposed to run the team.
I mean, obviously it wasn't a successful season by any means from top to bottom, but there are so many different things that you can point to. I don't have say that these 5 things were wrong, but there are so many so many different things that happen that can change whether we win 5 more games here, 10 more games here and there, but just overall not a successful season, from top to bottom.
The seasons after the 2020 championship revealed the hollow core. The Lakers, stripped of their young talent and future draft capital, became a year-to-year operation entirely dependent on the health and will of a 37, then 38, then 39-year-old LeBron James. The win-now machine started to sputter. A first-round exit, then a failure to even make the play-in. The pressure turned to desperation. The front office's moves became increasingly erratic, a clear symptom of an organization without a true north. They traded for Russell Westbrook in a blockbuster deal that most analysts panned instantly, a move described by insiders as a frantic attempt to placate LeBron and his desire for another star, regardless of fit. It was a disaster on the court, sinking the team's chemistry and flexibility. It was the ultimate identity crisis play. The Lakers, a franchise known for elegant Showtime basketball, were now forcing a square peg into a round hole just to keep the star power facade alive. Coaches came and went. Frank Vogel, who coached the title team, was scapegoated. High-profile hires were rumored to be influenced by the Stars' camp. The instability was palpable. There's no plan, a veteran NBA reporter with close ties to the organization said on a podcast. There's only reaction. React to LeBron's window. react to a bad season, react to public pressure. The Lakers used to set the agenda. Now they just respond to it. This is the lost identity the GM privately mourns. It's not just about basketball. It's about sovereignty. The Lakers are no longer the protagonists of their own story. They are the setting for someone else's final chapters. The front office, once feared and respected, is now seen as reactive and powerless. The pride of the franchise, the belief that putting on that jersey meant something transformative, has been diluted by a revolving door of mercenaries on one-year deals. They are a superstars team, not the Los Angeles Lakers team. And in the quiet of the executive offices, the regret is now a deafening roar. They gave away the very thing that made them special to get a superstar. And now they are just another team waiting for that superstar to leave.
Stay in the family and run the same way he ran the team. I like to say that my dad had his children, but the Lakers were his baby. And he put me in charge of the baby. In the 32 years that he ran the team, they only missed the playoffs twice. And here we were going on 5-6 years without being in the playoffs. It was just not Laker basketball. And the decisions had to be made that were tough. But it was important.
So, how do we know this regret is real? It's not from a public press conference. The GM will never say this on the record. But the evidence is in the pattern of private confessions and coded public language, according to multiple sources embedded within the Lakers organization and the wider NBA circle. The GM's frustration has boiled over in closed-door meetings. In one particularly stark conversation after a disappointing loss this past season, the GM is reported to have slammed a hand on a table and said, "What are we? Who are we building for? We have no draft picks, no young core, and we're held hostage by a timeline that isn't ours anymore. We became a convenience store for veterans, not a destination for greatness." The phrase "lost our identity" is said to be a direct quote used repeatedly in these internal rants. This private anguish is now leaking into the public sphere in subtle, telling ways. Look at the GM's recent public statements. In a late-season interview, when asked about building for the future, the GM said, "Our focus is getting back to developing a sustainable Lakers culture. It's about more than any one player. It's about the legacy of this franchise." Read between the lines. More than any one player. Sustainable culture. These are not comments about leveraging LeBron James. These are comments about moving beyond him. They are the first, cautious steps in a public rehabilitation of the Lakers brand, an attempt to reclaim the narrative that was surrendered in 2018. Furthermore, the team's recent actions speak louder than words. The quiet emphasis on scouting younger players in the draft, the reluctance to trade away the last remaining controllable draft picks for another quick-fix veteran, the reported internal push to prioritize athleticism and defense in roster construction, traits associated with a team identity, not just a superstar support system. These are the actions of a front office trying, brick by brick, to rebuild the very wall they tore down. They are trying to remember who they were before the king arrived, and the painful truth they now admit is that they liked that team, that identity, a whole lot more.
Couldn't be any closer to when you just got off the floor, but have you given any initial thoughts of what comes next this summer for next season?
No, I just want to get home to the family, honestly. Start looking at the schedule. Obviously, I got, my son. One of my boys is just trying to decide if he's gonna, enter the draft or go back to school. I got another kid that's playing AU ball right now. My daughter's playing volleyball, and my wife is doing so many great things. So it's about family right now. And then in a couple months, I got to go to Vegas for training camp. So, I got to rest my body.
This is the franchise's impossible dilemma, the quiet panic keeping the front office awake at night. The regret is real. The lost identity is mourned. But what now? How do you possibly fix this? The Lakers are trapped in a paradox of their own making. To truly reclaim their identity as a self-sustaining, culture-first franchise, they need to commit to a long-term vision. They need to draft, develop, and instill the Lakers way into a new generation. But they are tethered, financially and spiritually, to the twilight of LeBron James's career. Every move is still viewed through the lens of his final window. Trading him is unthinkable for business and legacy reasons. Letting him walk for nothing would be a catastrophe. So, they are stuck, forced to continue the very cycle they now despise. scrambling for short-term fixes to try and win now, further depleting the future they claim to want to build. The fan base is split, mirroring the front office's schizophrenia. One faction, the LeBron-first crowd, demands the team go all in on every remaining season, trading whatever is left for immediate help. The other, the Lakers Forever faction, longs for the return of the draft and develop model, even if it means suffering through lean years. The GM is caught in the crossfire, trying to please both masters and ultimately pleasing neither. This, ultimately, is the core of the regret. It's the realization that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. The Lakers didn't just sign a player. They initiated a fundamental power shift in the relationship between a franchise and a superstar. They proved that the icon can be bigger than the institution. And now, as LeBron's incredible career winds down, they face a terrifying question. When he's finally gone, what will be left? Not just in terms of roster talent, but in terms of soul. Will there be a Lakers way to return to? Or will they just be another glamour franchise waiting for the next superstar to decide to use them as a vehicle? The fear is that the identity wasn't just misplaced, it was permanently erased. So, here we are. The confetti from 2020 has long been swept away. The jersey sales remain high, the spotlight is still bright, but within the halls of the Lakers headquarters, a cold truth has settled. Signing LeBron James was the ultimate high-risk, high-reward gamble. It delivered a championship, a 17th banner, and a jolt of global relevance. But the price, as the GM now privately concedes, was astronomical. They traded their future for a present, their culture for a crown, and their sovereignty for a superstar. They became a tenant in their own house. The whispered regret, "We lost our identity," is not just about basketball strategy. It's a mournful admission that in the pursuit of one kind of glory, they sacrificed the very essence that made them glorious in the first place. The question that will haunt this franchise for the next decade is not just about winning more games. It's a deeper, more painful one. Can you ever truly go home again after you've sold the house to buy a throne? The Lakers got their king, but in the process, they may have lost the kingdom. What's your verdict? Was the championship worth the cost of their soul? Let us know in the comments below. And for more unfiltered truths from behind the curtains of the NBA's biggest dramas, make sure you're subscribed. The real game is always played off the court.